when we face with these challenges, as you said, that we have our limiting beliefs, stories we have told ourselves since we were a kid, and it wasn't something that we decided to do. It was our brain created that story to help us understand an event. How do we change that story, or how do we
Mhm.
reframe it in a way that becomes permanent, and now
Mhm.
we have a different behavior because of
Mhm.
that?
Well, so again, this is beautiful because again, I don't want you to have a different behavior. This
Well,
is
I mean,
we keep trying to change ourselves, but if you don't have this behavior, you're not getting on and sharing your wisdom. And so it's like, why would I want him to stop that? So this is the very behavior that's driving you to own that part of yourself, to move beyond the self-doubts and the imposter syndrome and say, I'm going to do it anyways. And every time you pick up that microphone and just speak on your own, you experience your own wisdom, your own knowledge. I don't want to take that away from you. So until that's done, until you have that certainty, that's a beautiful strategy for you to have. So this is where, when we ask ourselves these questions, it's like we sit there and we say, and we're like, why do I have this? What's wrong with me? Right? Instead of saying, why do I have this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this that is actually helping me? So it's changing the dynamic and talking to yourself as a friend. Talk to yourself as a friend instead of that person who's like, what's wrong with you? Right? It's like, what actually is right with me right now? Like, why is this important for me to be doing? What is it driving me to do? And how is it helping me? So that's a really important dynamic. The other important thing to remember too is, we have this perception of when we get hooked on something, we want that to happen all the time. So infatuating with something, it becomes an addiction. It's an addiction to a behavior. So for example, if someone's been really present with you and really nice and really sweet, and you have maybe like another parent at home who's like really frustrating and more challenging and harder on you, you're going to get hooked on wanting to be coddled and treated really nicely and really well, just because you now have an infatuation with that behavior because you're not seeing how the challenge actually served you. It's the challengers in our lives that help us to use our voice. It's the challengers that get us to speak up. It's the challengers that actually remind us to push ourselves in a different way. When we're over supported, and we see this quite frequently, when you see kids that are over supported, they're entitled. Like, they're pretty bratty. They're super entitled. You can't even get them to like clean their room or like clean anything. They come over and you're like, I want to smack your kid right now. Like, how are you just letting that occur? Because this child is over supported, they're being coddled, and they're not being challenged. They're not being challenged to actually grow, to evolve, and to basically function sometimes in normal society. So when we're not appreciating that challenger, we get hooked and addicted to the supporter, not realizing that the supporter enables us to stay small, where the challenger is the one that makes us grow. And this also happens in business, right? If I have no competition, what am I going to do with my company? I don't need to innovate, right? It's the competition that gets me to innovate. It's the competition that makes me think of new things. It's the competition that makes me step outside the box. It's all those people out there that are doing similar things, or sometimes even the same thing as me. If I don't step up my game, I'll fall behind. And I'm grateful for those people. They're the ones who push me to grow, not the ones who support me, not the ones who like overprotect me. It's the ones who push me and challenge me. And sometimes even my friends are like, what are you doing? like, like, really, Carly? Like, is this happening? And my parents do it too. Or they're like, what are you doing? And I've even had, yeah, as an adult, I'm 41 years old. I've even had I remember my dad yelled at me. It was like at the beginning of the year. And he's like, pisses me off when you do this. And then he said it, and I looked at him and I was like, thanks, Dad. I was like, I was really adamant there. I was like, I really appreciate that. But had he just sat there and coddled me and let me play the victim, I just would have stayed the victim. But instead, he yelled at me and he got pissed off at me and he swore at me. My dad barely ever swears. And I was like, whoa. And I really soaked it in, and I got over it and I moved forward. Right. And so this is that dynamic where it's like when we have this unrealistic expectation to always be heard, to always have someone nice to us, to have all these things that we're hooked on, we're addicted to, we miss out on the opportunities that we're being given by the universe, by our challengers, to really help us to grow. And I've done this with challenges of all Like whatever challenge you can think of, I've helped people with this. So this applies to everything, because I know sometimes people are like, oh, but what about these extreme things, right? I've worked on car accidents, I've worked on rapes, I've worked on deaths, I've worked on suicides, all of this stuff. And so all of this actually applies. And when we can see like our life for what it truly is instead of what we're thinking it should be in the label, we become grateful and we embrace life to a greater degree. It does make us more resilient because we don't have unrealistic expectations on life or people.
What's up, everyone? If you enjoyed that, then press here to watch the full episode. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.